Now, for those of you that like pate and have never tried to make your own because it seems a little bit too complicated or a little bit too overwhelming in all the process that you have to go through in regards to you know, wrapping it in bacon, cooking it on bain-marie, blah 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 blah. Look, I want to show you a very simple and easy, quick way to make a chicken liver pate. The recipe for this is very easy to remember. 250 grams of diced onion, 250 grams of diced mushroom, a sprig of fresh thyme, 4 large cloves of grated garlic, 400 grams of butter, 100 mils of cream, 250 grams of smoked bacon, smoked rasher of bacon, smoked streaky bacon, smoked back bacon, whatever, but 250 grams of a good smoked bacon, and a pound of fresh chicken livers. And then last but not least, a good shot of brandy. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this all together. We're going to cook off the bacon in the butter with the mushrooms, the onions, add the chicken livers, add the garlic, add the brandy, and then we're going to get to the really difficult stage, which is blitzing it. Now, you'll understand what I mean when we get there. So the process is sweat the liver and the bacon off in the butter, add the garlic, add the mushroom and onion, add the thyme, cook it on for around about 15-20 minutes, add the brandy, add the cream, and then blitz. Now, I'll show you step by step as we go forward, but the very first thing that I want to do is I want to line this 1 pound bread tin here, this loaf tin. Now, what I want to do is I want to line this with cling wrap. So the reason I'm going to line this with cling wrap is because I'm going to use it as a mold. You see, once we get to the stage, there's no more cooking after that. That's it, the pate's done. This is the quickest pate you'll ever make. So look, let's get started and I'll show you how we go step by step. Now, when you're lining your tin, make sure you leave a lip, an overlap, an overhang, whatever you want to call it, all around the tin. The reason being is because we're going to, when the pate mix is poured in here, and we're going to allow it to set, we're going to cover it obviously like so with the cling film, so like that and like so. And 2 reasons we do this. Number 1 is obviously to stop anything that may be in the fridge getting into the pate. What I mean by that is if you've got onions or anything like that, it can get in and it can cause the pate to take on a sour taste. So what we're doing is we're protecting the pate from being infused with anything else that may be in the fridge. And also as well, because we have a lot of garlic in here, we're also helping to keep the pate from infusing garlic into anything else that may be in the fridge. So that's the reason we do that. So look, make sure anyway that you have an overlap and whatever mold you're going to use when you're for pouring the pate into. So, right, butter is melting. First thing in is the bacon. Now, obviously what I want to do is colour up this bacon here. In regards to the pate, it's a very easy, very straightforward pate. There's nothing difficult about it. It's just a matter of step 1, step 2, step 3. But look, it's a super dish. Obviously, pate isn't going to help you win, you know, Slimmer of the Year competition or anything like that. But the bottom line of it is that if you like pate, you're going to love this. Right, you can see now that the bacon is foaming away here. Next, I want to add in the leaves of the fresh thyme from the sprig of thyme that we had. And you can hear the thyme popping there as we add it in. So, okay. Now, the next thing to do is to add in the chicken livers. Straight in, get them into the pot and get them cooking. Now after this, I'm just going to add in the garlic and the remaining ingredients once I get a little bit of colour on these. Chicken livers are cooking nicely there. Now I'm adding in the garlic. So just to bring you up to speed on where we are, we have the bacon in, we have the butter in, we have the liver in, and we have the thyme in, fresh thyme. Now we've just added the garlic. So I'm just going to let that sweat on for a couple more minutes before I add the remaining ingredients. in the onions and the mushrooms. Now, after this we're going to season it up a little bit. But what I want to do here now is I want to get the onions and the mushrooms going here so that they begin to soften down and cook out. So we're getting close now to nearly finishing this pate, believe it or not. As I say, I told you it was easy. So this is the closest thing that you're going to get to a one pot pate. Don't go too heavy on the salt. The reason being is because don't forget the salt in that bacon. So you don't want to make it too salty. So just a little bit of salt, plenty of black pepper in it, ground black pepper, and just let it cook on. And you can see here we're at the stage where everything is beginning to break down, which is exactly the way we want it. So at this stage now we're going to add in the brandy. Now, is the brandy necessary? Yes, it is, but if you are, if you don't want the brandy or you don't want alcohol in it, you don't want alcohol in it. It's as simple as that. There's no problem there. But for the brandy adds a lovely depth to the pate itself when it's been after it's cooked. Now the amount of brandy that I added in was a large brandy, so 2 shots of brandy. Now I'm adding the cream in here now, and just going to give it a stir in. Like I said, this is a rich pate, but again, you won't find a simpler pate to make. So look, that's that now. On to the next stage. Now we're ready to blitz this pate. Now you could do it in a liquidizer, but why bother if you have one of these? The reason being is because all you're going to end up doing is pouring this into the liquidizer. It's going to spill everywhere. You're going to have to clean it. Whereas with this, it is just a matter of doing it all in the pot. So I'm going to start blitzing it off here. So I'll just start it off. So you can see what's going on here. The gun is breaking it down. So I'm going to keep on going. And when I have this ready to pour into the tin, I'll bring it back. Okay, we're done now with the blending. You can see that I've blended it right down to a very, very fine puree. You need to make sure that you get everything blended up inside it, okay? The last thing that you want to do is cut into your pate and find a piece of bacon or a piece of mushroom or something like that stuck inside the middle of the pate. So all that's left now to do is to put this into the mould, let it come down to room temperature, and then put it into a fridge and leave it overnight. It does need to be left in the fridge for about 8 hours. As I said, best is overnight, 10 to 12 hours. So the other thing then that's left to do obviously is to check for seasoning. The following morning, and the pate has set lovely, as you can see. Now what I want to do is just tip it out, and let's take a look at the pate on the inside. So tipping it out, obviously because it's in its cling wrap here and cling film, it should tip out okay, but if you do experience a little bit of difficulty, it may have, it may stick to the sides of the dish or the mould, whatever it is that you're using. All you need to do is give the cling film a little tug on either end, and it should pop out for you, no problem. So now there's the pate there. All right, absolutely looks great. It should be super inside. So let's cut it and see. Now when you're working with pate, it's always a good idea to use a not a serrated edge blade. Use something with a smooth edge like what I have here, okay? And also heat the blade. The reason being is because when you heat the blade, it prevents the pate actually sticking to the blade, and also prevents when you have little grains of pate dragging down the blade, it also can make little score marks on the inside of the pate as well. So let's turn this over and unwrap it and see what it looks like. Now you can see here that it has set absolutely perfectly. That smells brilliant. So now there you can see there what I'm talking about in regards to the pate. It's set perfect. It's the ideal colour. The taste is going to be fantastic. I know just by the smell of it. So that's it. Now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to serve a cranberry Cumberland with this. So let's crack on now and get going with this cranberry Cumberland sauce. Now for the cranberry Cumberland, what do we need? We're going to need the juice and also the skin of 2 oranges, the juice and the skin of 1 lemon, half a teaspoon of whole black peppercorns, a couple of cinnamon sticks, a level teaspoon of mixed spice, and obviously then this is store-bought. It's very easy to use, obviously, because you just basically take it out of the jar and just put it into a pot and heat it. So look, let's start off with this. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to take the skin off the oranges. So I'm going to crack on here taking the skin off the oranges. Now what I want to do in regards to the skin is I only want the barest outside of the skin. So that's what I'm talking about, because what we're going to do with this is we're going to julienne it and cut it into very, very fine strips. We're going to do the same with the lemons. Then when we have that done, I'm going to juice both the oranges and the lemons. Now we have the orange skin, the lemon skin done. So what I want to do now is I want to cut it into very fine strips. Now place the pith side down, alright, skin facing up to you, and then with a good sharp blade cut as thin as strips as you can possibly get without obviously taking a finger or a nail off. Okay, there's the orange and lemon skin julienne, nice fine little strips. Now we're going to cook those off in the sauce, but the next step now is to begin juicing the lemons and the oranges, right? So okay, let's get this going now. First in is the store-bought sauce. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cook off the orange skin and the lemon skin that we've just julienned up in the sauce itself. Now you can also add pork to this if you want, and I don't believe it's necessary, but if you want to add a little bit of pork into it just to give it that little bit of extra depth of flavour, by all means do so. Now the next thing that I'm going to put in is the orange juice and the lemon juice. Now I'm not going to add all of this in. The reason being is because I don't want the sauce to become so watered down that it doesn't set. The idea of a Cumberland is that when it goes onto a cold plate, is that it will set. So now the other thing as well is if you have a couple of bay leaves, add them in. They're not completely necessary, but they do add a little bit of extra oomph to the sauce itself. Now next in is the peppercorns, then the mixed spice, then the cinnamon sticks. Now the cinnamon sticks, break them into 3. You're going to be taking them out later anyway, so I wouldn't be too worried about them, what way you, if they crack or not. Now just lower that sauce down, because what we're going to do is we're going to gently cook this for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Yeah, cook it out for 40 minutes on a very, very low heat. And the reason being is that we want all these flavours to infuse together. So, and then last but not least then is the zest, that, or should I say the julienne that we did earlier on. So the julienne is going in there now. And I can tell you already, the smell is amazing already from this, and it hasn't even finished cooking yet. So just give them a good stir around. Now is the stage to add the remaining juice. The reason being is because all of the other, especially the julienne, has thickened the sauce up slightly. So I'm going to add in the remaining juice here now. Yeah, that will work fine. So like I said, just be careful, don't add all the juice in at once. Judge it by eye, and you'll know as well by consistency. Now once this sauce has come up to a boil, lower it down immediately, because it is, remember, you're working with sugar and sugar will burn. So lower the temperature down of the sauce down to very low, as I've done here when it comes to the boil, and just let it simmer. Just let it barely simmer for about 40 minutes. I like ciabatta, but you can use any bread you want as long as you cut it as fine as you can. Now you will need a good sharp knife when you're doing this, okay? And also what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to brush them with oil and I'm going to pan fry them to make little croutons, okay? But you can toast them to make them like Melba toast if you wish. But just make sure, like I said, you use a good sharp knife and you cut the bread nice and fine. Okay, let's finish this off and dress the plate. Now, one thing to remember, here is our finished cranberry Cumberland, okay? Remember to take the cinnamon sticks out of it and the bay leaves and what have you. But remember also, use the sauce when it's cool, not freezing cold where it's reset, but cool. So you may need to, you know, warm it up a couple of hours before you serve it out. But the idea is that we want the sauce to go onto the plate like so and spread. So what I'm doing now is, as you can see, is I'm just a little bit more. So what I want to do is I want to spread that sauce out. Like so. Okay, so that's the sauce. Now I'll just move that out of the way while I bring the pate in. Now as well, what I want to do is to cut. Now this would be about a portion for your guests. One slice like so, so it's literally cut down and then push away. So it's cut down and then push away, alright? Now, you can decorate the pate if you so wish by putting in little crosses like that, little crisscrosses. Now there are more elaborate ways of serving up the pate, but I just wanted to show you a basic way of putting it together. So let's bring the plate over, and what I want to do is I want to just put it up like so. Now you can of course lay it flat if you so wish, that's up to you, but for this particular moment what I'm going to do is just stand it up on its edge. So the next thing then is to put in some of our Melba toast or our Melba croutons that we did, and I also just want to finish it off with a little bit of candied orange that I did earlier on.